All right, I think I've remembered everything. We're recording. We're live on Facebook. Welcome to the Primalista panel. It's so cool to have you here. Thanks to those of you joining us on Zoom, you gorgeous people, and hello to the Facebook community. And if you're watching the replay, then hello in the future. So we're going to start off with some introductions from our Primalistas. We're just waiting for Primalista Kirsty to join us. But I think if we start off with Primalista Rosie, you're an old hat at doing these things with me. So we'll let you warm things up by just giving us a bit of an introduction from yourself, and just really, if you could make it kind of specific to the current financially insecure and uncertain times that we're living in, that would be really awesome.
So I'm Rosie. I'm in Perth. I've been in Primal Alternative producer for about 3 years. The coronavirus didn't really affect my business much at all. It did, but the uncertainty and the stress really didn't seem to affect. Didn't really have a huge impact. My stockists were all still fine. They were all still selling fine, or increased even. The only thing that was different was markets, which I do rely on, but it was just something that I had to work through. Yeah.
I've muted myself. Okay, cool. All right, Leanne, would you like to give us an introduction from you? That would be awesome.
Yep. So hi, I'm Leanne. I'm in New South Wales in Sydney. So I joined Primal Alternative in September last year. I started producing in December, and I had my very first market on a catastrophic fire day surrounded by bushfires. There was planes going over, water bombers dropping. Things were just totally insane, and I didn't have any stockists at that point either. And then we had Christmas, and then we came back and coronavirus hit. So I've never really had I didn't have anything to judge off what it was like before coronavirus. So I can't really say how it affected me, because that's pretty much all I've had. But despite all of that, I've managed to grow my business. I was one of the lucky ones. My markets were able to keep going, and I've got a small little customer base. I'm building up on social media, so I probably could have advanced a little bit further if it hadn't have been for coronavirus, but it didn't actually stop me from starting and developing the business so far.
Gorgeous. That's awesome. Thanks, Leanne. Wow, what a start to the business.
I know, it was crazy.
Natural disasters, global pandemics, and still selling cookies. That's cool.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what it was like.
Cool. All right. Well, I'm stoked that our good friend Kirsty has joined us. So,
yes, sorry, I was late.
No, that's cool. That's cool. Rosie's given us her introduction. So is Leanne. I love that blossom behind you. That's very, very special.
Oh, yes, my new favorite.
Gorgeous.
Yes, awesome.
Really brightens the room up. So we just getting a quick introduction, and if you could just tell us a little bit about your experience as a Primalista from this standpoint of the current climate of it being quite financially insecure and uncertain.
Okay. Well, in some ways, the coronavirus has been a fantastic thing for me, which sounds probably awful to a lot of people, but I really wanted to become a Primalista, and I had it on my heart to do that, as Helen knows. But finances were the thing that I was worried about stopping me from doing that. And with one of the government things that came along with coronavirus was getting access to your super. So all the super that I'd saved up from working years and years ago, I could actually access and then get the cash flow, so I could start with my license and then still have the cash flow to start building it and doing all the stuff that I'm doing. So for me, that's just been a real blessing to bring things forward that I thought was going to be a bit further down the track. Yeah. So initially I was thinking I wasn't going to be able to do it until, say, about this time this year, but I actually ended up starting 29th of May. So I'm in about my 5th month now and been producing since July. So yeah, that's quite exciting, and really, and the whole concept that producing foods become an essential service for people when all the COVID stuff was going down was really good to see that no matter what, you know, people are going to need to eat, and they're going to want to eat healthy food. And the benefits of being a producer of stuff that you believe in and you know that's healthy for people is that even if you weren't making money from it, you're still going to be able to feed your family well and those that you love and know around you as well. And you can put that passion into what you're feeding them and producing into the community so that they can actually see, you know, there's an alternative. You don't just have to go with the mainstream things in the grocery stores and then get sicker and sicker, which we see around us all the time. Obviously, it's also a slow process of getting relatives to think about them changing the way that they eat, but hopefully once they start to realise that the grain-free alternatives actually taste really good, they're not just, you know, some cardboard tasting gluten-free thing that a lot of people have that idea that gluten-free is boring, or, you know, that alternative food is only for, you know, tree huggers or something like that. They realise that that's not the case at all. I've got 3 boys that actually are quite, I guess they would love to have just mainstream food all the time because they're, you know, kids have that addictive nature to all the flavours and enhancers and stuff. But even they've come around with a lot of our products to realise just how delicious they are. And yeah, so, you know, little wins, and hopefully builds up to a better choices in the future for everybody.
Awesome. That's awesome. And all the fun you can have with our products as well, you know, like the different things you can do with them. And yeah, I think converting relatives is more of a case of yeah, just slipping them some cookies and pastry and pizzas and just seeing how that goes.
Yeah.
It's easier than saying you shouldn't eat that, you should eat this. Just have a cookie. It's a lot more, it's a lot easier than going through all of that. Now it's really exciting. We've got some people watching us on Facebook. Hello, Facebook people. And I just wanted to say, I've got some questions to ask the Primalistas that have already been asked before the event today, but I do have plenty of time to ask your questions. So to the people in Zoom, if you want to ask a question, you can just pop it in the chat. And if you're on Facebook, if you just write a comment, and I will answer all of the questions. So the next question that we've got on the list today, and, you know, I think that we do acknowledge that, you know, not everybody's life is better after coronavirus or the global pandemic. I know a lot of people are struggling and suffering, but there's also been quite a lot of silver linings, and it's okay to talk about the silver linings as well. So the next question I've got for the Primalistas is your life better than before the pandemic? What a question. Let's start with you, Rosie.
So my life isn't a lot different. It's very similar. In terms of silver linings, yeah, that while we had our sort of shutdown here in Perth, I did find myself with some extra time and less income, and that I did find that to be a really good motivation to try and drive sales in other areas, you know, areas that I wouldn't have had time for otherwise. So I found myself looking for sales online. So I made my own website and started getting on Instagram more. And I did find those to be really good avenues for getting more sales. And yeah, like I said, it's something that I wouldn't have really had time for or the motivation for previous to the coronavirus. Like I said before, I do feel really lucky that the stress and the uncertainty didn't really affect me very much during coronavirus. I knew that my markets would start up again. It was just a matter of time. And during that time, I just had to find other ways of securing extra income. And yeah, I do feel really lucky and really grateful that it's been really easy for me to have to find good things out of the coronavirus.
Beautiful. Thank you, Rosie. Leanne, we'll go to you. Same question. Is your life better than before the pandemic?
I would say pretty much the same as Rosie. It hasn't really changed that much. Like I said before, I wasn't really producing long enough before to gauge it to gauge any difference. But my job was put on hold, so I had a lot of free time on my hands. So I did what a lot of us did do, and it forced me to get creative, and I got more into the Instagram, and I created my own website, which, by the way, is like so much fun, but it is a lot of work. Like a website is just so insanely a lot of work. But again, I had the time to do it. I didn't have the funds to pay somebody to do it. So I would just sit there for hours and Google how to do this and then figure it out. And Google how to do that and figure it out. And, you know, I really enjoyed it. It gave me a different perspective on running a business rather than just focusing on the food side of it, you know, getting the admin and just a different outlet to put things through, and you connect with people in a different way. I was really lucky that my markets didn't close because they were deemed an essential service, but it was restricted to food only. So it took it from an average of about 30 to 40 stalls down to sometimes there was only 3 or 4 of us there.
Wow.
So I was able to build some really good relationships with my customers that would come every week because it was their only time out of the house, you know, and they really made their most of being out at the markets and buying all their veggies and, you know, their bread off me and whatever else they could manage to get there. So it gives you a different perspective on things. And I think you hear a lot that, you know, I hope things don't go back to normal, because I like the new normal, that being slower and having that extra time has created. So in that way, yeah, I would say life is a little bit better.
Awesome. Thanks, Leanne. That's cool. And just as a kind of a side note for anybody who is thinking, oh my God, I just like baking, I don't want to create a website. Like, you don't have to. That's part, like the Primal Alternative website is created for you. It's already got everything on there. You don't need to do it. And but you can if you want to. Like Leanne said, that's something she wanted to do. She's enjoyed learning those different skills. It's a lot of hard work, a lot of learning new tech stuff, which can be a bit but fun as well, especially when the end result's good. But also if you want, like Facebook and Instagram, or Facebook more so, is pretty much got all of the functionalities of a website. And the Primalistas who've got Square, which most Primalistas do, so just that little EFT transaction gadget for using at markets and stuff, you can hook up Facebook with your Square and take sales directly through your own Facebook page, which is great, because it is really easy to just have a kind of set and forget. So you can be generating sales when you're out and about, when you're asleep, and it doesn't have to be so much backwards and forwards, sending invoices and reconciling and all that kind of thing. So just wanted to add that in there. All right, so Kirsty, over to you. Is your life better than before the pandemic?
Okay, well, I'd like to say yes, based on the fact that I think it forced us to have less distractions. So for me, homeschooling my 2 youngest boys, it didn't change a lot that way. But say visitors dropping in, it eliminated a lot of those. So you can kind of, you know, when there's less distractions, I think there's more family time, being able to get more things done. I liked being able to be more productive, getting myself, you know, to do the things that needed to be done. And then when you were able to leave the house during the lockdown time, you really made sure that it was worth your while, you know. It was something that everybody enjoyed actually going and doing and getting out. So I think it made you appreciate what we have a lot more. So I think blessing in that way. Yeah, I wasn't really producing during the lockdown time, so it's sort of July onwards in Queensland anyway. It's sort of been fairly back to normal. Yeah, that's all I can say about that, I think.
Cool. And I guess I think, the biggest affected states being Victoria, if we're just talking about Australia. And I know that for most of the Victorian Primalistas that I've had feedback from, sales they've sold more. Like, getting out to the markets has been like a bit of a light at the end of the tunnel in terms of, you're cooped up in the house and then you get to go out and, how good is it? Like, I love going to our markets. It's like the biggest social immersion ever, and it just fills up your cup and you think, right, that's me. I can stay at home for the rest of the week now because I've got my food and I've seen my pals and that. So it is good. I think most of the markets have continued in Victoria, and for those that haven't, there's been a lot of direct, sales have still continued, and meetings in car parks and stuff to swap goods. So where there's a will, there's a way, and that's amazing. And it just shows the strength of community and how committed people are to this way of life as well, which is very cool. All right, bit of a change of tack now, which is exciting. What we're going to do is just have a look at blocks. So whether you're thinking about becoming a Primalista or whether you're thinking about starting a new health regime or anything, we always go, oh, I'd like to do this, but blah, 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 blah. And then we list a whole pile of reasons, that block our dream. So I'd like to ask the Primalistas, we'll just keep going in the same order because it's working lovely. We'll ask Primalista Rosie, if you can think back to nearly 3 years ago when you first were thinking about becoming a Primalista, what was blocking your dreams of starting your own business initially? Was there any kind of like, little, on your shoulder, little voices going, you can't do that? And what were they?
To be completely honest, I knew immediately that I wanted to do Primal Alternative as soon as I heard about it and read a little bit about it. I knew that I could do it. And the reason being is that everything, like all the startup things were, all the bits and pieces, all the legalities, all the technicalities were already done. If I had to start from scratch, if I'd had to do the logo and the deal with council by myself, or even knowing that you have to deal with the council, I would not have had the confidence to do it. So if I was to say, so I didn't have a dream of having my own business. I knew before I started Primal Alternative that I knew that I wasn't where I wanted to be in life. I knew that I wasn't aligned with the profession I was in, but I didn't know how to get out of it. And then Primal Alternative gave me this amazing, incredible reason and path to move from where I was to where I wanted to be. And I knew that I wanted to be with Primal Alternative. I knew that I could do it. Like I said, if I'd had to do it all by myself, I would have really struggled to overcome the feeling of the lack of confidence in myself. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a great answer. And I love the fact that your previous career was as a pharmacist. So, same kind of desire to help people, right? You wanted to help people get better and be healthy, but it's just like a different way of doing it. And I love how there's, you often see there's quite a lot of people who've come from the medical and the health profession and then moved into more sort of alternative, preventative ways of doing it. And I love that because you're still helping the same people, but just in a different way, right? Yeah. Which is so cool. So cool. All right, Leanne, tell us what was blocking your dreams of starting your own business initially, and how did you overcome them?
Okay, so initially it was more the like most people, just fear of the unknown. Like, if I did this, would I be able to commit to it enough to do it? Because from the first time I heard of Primal Alternative, I knew that this is what I was going to do. Sooner or later, I was going to buy a license and I was going to be in. But at the time, I was working full time, and I work part-time, and I've always had a full-time and a part-time job probably for about the last 15 years. So I've always had fitness classes on the side that I teach. So it's just adding something else to that load was just mind-blowing. I just thought, I just can't do this. But I wasn't really willing to give up, a full-time salary to take the plunge. I knew that I could do it, and I knew I wanted to do it because I tried the products. They were delicious, and I just couldn't get them in my area. I had to either order online or go into Bondi or into the city, or to one of Pete Evans' conferences. I would stock up every time I was there. So it was just something that was always in the back of my mind. And then in 2018, my job ended. The company was made redundant, and so I was out of work, and I thought, well, this is okay. I might look at it then. And then in 2019, I had an accident, and I was injured quite badly, and so I was out of action for a couple of months. I was just laid up with my leg in a brace, couldn't go anywhere, couldn't drive, couldn't do anything without anybody's help. So it just really, lots of time on Facebook, lots of time listening to old podcasts and things like that, and it just kept coming up, and I was just like, you know what, I'm just going to do it. Like, there is just no time now. So I just took the leap of faith and went, you know what, I'm just going to do it. And I remember talking to H in my discovery call and saying, my husband and my father-in-law just think I'm nuts. They're like, who is going to pay $16 for a loaf of bread? Like, you're crazy.
Yeah, I remember.
And I mean, these guys have no idea how much it costs to eat anyway, because they don't buy anything. They don't go to the shop. They have no idea what groceries cost. But in saying that, they eat everything I make, and they love it. They just, you just don't tell them what it is, and they're fine. You don't mention that healthy, grain-free, gluten-free, and, they're like, oh, this is nice. It's just, yeah. So, so I just sort of went with it. And there's a mantra that I've always had, for the past couple of years. And instead of saying, what's the worst thing that can happen, I always just say, what's the best thing that can happen? It's not much point focusing on what's the worst that's going to happen. So I always just go, what's the best thing that's going to happen? And the best thing was, well, it could actually work. So, and if it doesn't, then I've got that little thought out of my head, and I'll find something else. And I still, do this, and I still do my part-time job. So.
Love it.
Yeah.
No, that's so cool. That's so cool. And I remember when we did your discovery call, or interview as it's now called, I remember you really had, they were your partner and your father-in-law, they were big naysayers. They were like poo-pooing it completely. And you did it anyway, and you've proven to them that it's worked. But like you say, and I know you're like, what's the best thing that can happen? I always think, what's the worst that could happen? And can I live with that worst case scenario? And what would be the worst that could happen is that doesn't work. And, and then I'll just stop doing it. And it's like, well, I'm already living my worst case scenario now. Yeah, so what have I got to lose? And you learn so much. And, I know the cost of the license currently $5,000, plus GST and plus your membership. But it's not a huge amount of cash, whereas if you were going to start a business from scratch and invest in everything, it would cost a lot more. So I always see it as sort of a similar kind of cost to doing a course. And you do learn a lot of skills along the way, right? In terms of sales and pushing through your own limiting self-beliefs, and you'll get some cool new recipes. You'll make some new friends. You'll have experiences. You'll hang out with Pete Evans and all those sort of the other events that we've done, which are really cool. So I love it. All right, over to our lovely Kirsty with a question. What was blocking your dreams of starting your business initially, and how did you overcome it?
Okay, well, again, I thought it was finances. I, just like Leanne was mentioning about, the rest of the family don't really understand how much the food costs. And I had actually been I did a budgeting course and did a beta testing thing for another thing and other stuff. So it was really on my mind that things needed to be financially viable for me to be able to even propose it to my husband. That and a lot of other things. And basically, for me, it was a step of faith. I prayed a lot about it, and I wanted to know that it was something that I was meant to do and pursue. And then signs just kept coming up confirming, yes, I am meant to do it. And even, you know, my husband now turning around and saying he's so proud that I did, because he wasn't really, he supported me 100%, but he wasn't actually sure that it was going to definitely, you know, take off. And he realized the worst case scenario would be that we'd have great new recipes that we could feed him and the boys with. So yeah, getting over those little things, and yeah, it's just like that mean girl concept. Like, you can, you know, go, okay, I can't do this, or this is hard, and sometimes it gets overwhelming, especially when you've got to learn all these new sorts of things and get your head around them. It was also homeschooling my two youngest boys. My youngest, Tom, can be really, really full on, one-on-one. And if I'd tried to do this a couple of years ago, I would have had a breakdown with all my health stuff. It just would have been way too much, would not been able to take it on board. I've been doing a couple of years of trying to heal my gut and work towards that. And I felt like I was now at the point where I can take on extra stuff and I can fit it around schooling the boys. And it's amazing how once you get that concept into your head, I think Helen brought this up to me about, if you've got an amount of time, you're going to fill it with whatever you need to do. And if you give yourself more time, well, they're going to take that amount of time. So if you limit the time that you've got to do the thing that you need to do, you'll do it. And it gets back to time management. I mean, I had to do that in university years ago, but it's funny how as a parent you kind of forget that, and things can take longer than what they should. So it was good to sort of refocus and start living my time management skills and things like that, and getting over those mean girl thoughts that I had, and just going, okay, you know, shut up, I'm going to do this, and then do it.
Shut up, I'm going to do this. I love it. That's it. It really just does come down to that, doesn't it? Which is is funny. You know, I love that. And I'm glad that you remembered that about Parkinson's law, because that's something I'm always banging on about. You know, it's like you need to schedule in high priority activities. Otherwise, time will be taken up with low priority activities. And then you'll get to the end of the day and you're completely frustrated and haven't achieved anything. And it happens to all of us. So I love it. But it is a case of knowing your priorities, right? And I think that we often go through life not knowing what they are either. And then I think that the silver lining of a health crisis is really getting clear on what your priorities are. And it usually is to do around your health. And just on that one, we've all been on a health journey. We're all still on a health journey. Just a sort of throw-in question that just has popped up now is, do you feel that, you know, having your own business that's aligned with your passion or your priorities or your values has helped your health journey? Because from my experience, you know, moving in these circles, being around like-minded individuals who inspire me every day and doing what I really want to do has helped my health. It's given me more of a purpose. It's I found my health's come on leaps and bounds from doing this work. What would does anybody want to just raise their hand if they've got anything to add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I can totally agree with that. Even with some of the breads, as you know, that we've got a lot of egg in it, and I could not handle egg at all. I couldn't. But now it's amazing that I can have some of the breads that have got egg in it, not like all the time, but a little bit of it. And so I feel like eating more healthy all the time, it seems like my body's starting to tolerate things that it couldn't tolerate, say, 12 months ago. So for me, that feels like the journey is progressing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to add anything?
So I feel like working for yourself in this business, I've found that, being surrounded by like-minded people is amazing because you don't feel alone. But then also, like, doing a long, hard day's work, I feel like I've achieved something. even if I'm tired, I still feel really proud of what I've achieved. Whereas if I'd been working on my feet all day in the pharmacy, I would just feel exhausted and drained. Yes, and yes, I definitely have found that my health has really improved dramatically, and kind of just from mentally doing something I love and being surrounded by people who think the same as you do.
Awesome. Leanne, anything you want to add?
Yeah. Well, I'll add. The same sort of thing as the other girls just said. When you're surrounded by, like, just when you're in that culture, it becomes like I always say, like, your vibe becomes your tribe. So you're always with these people. And when you're working in an office, and I'd go in because I have celiac disease, so I've always had to be gluten-free, or for the last couple of years anyway. And we'd have, like, somebody's birthday or something, and they'd have this big spread, and I'd have like a packet of plain rice crackers at the end of the table that someone as an afterthought. And we'd go out for lunch at the pub, and they'd say, and I'd have to a million questions, can I have this? And you just kind of feel like a little bit of an outsider, and you feel like you need to defend your food choices, even though mine was more medical, but I was also paleo. And when you're surrounded by people who are like you, it's just such a freeing feeling that you don't have to defend every single thing you want to eat. It's just normal. And it does become your normal. So you don't feel like you have to justify why you're asking these questions or why you're turning something down. So it's freeing in that way, as well as the health benefits of just having access to, like, all the great ingredients. Before, if I wanted to make something, and I'd have to nick to Woolies and buy all the stuff, it would cost a fortune. Now I've got all these amazing ingredients on hand, and I can pretty much make whatever I want whenever I want.
Yeah, I love that too. That's definitely a plus for baking. You're like, I've got chia seeds, coconut flour, let's go.
I've got cacao, I've got everything. You name it, it's there.
Yeah, which means that, it spills over, all this good food spills over into the rest of your life as well, which is cool. I call it inside the bubble. Like you're in this bubble and you think everyone eats like that, and then you go out into the real world and you're like, oh yeah, that's right. No, not everybody eats like this. I'm just in this bubble with all these other people that eat like this, which I like being in the bubble. It's a nice, safe place to be. All right, on to the next question. And we'll go to Rosie. What would you say is the one thing you need to prioritize to fulfill your, and then the paper's ripped, I think it's fulfill your business, right? So you have all got viable businesses. It's all based around what's important to you and how big you wanted to make it. And I love that, because the license is just so malleable like that, right? You can do it in your version and what works best for you. So what I'd love to know from you is, what is the one thing that you feel you've had to prioritize for your business to be successful on your terms?
I feel like I've had to prioritize my instinct. Initially I knew that I wanted to do Primal Alternative. I did have to talk to my partner about it, and he he had questions about it. He had more questions than I did. He thought it through a lot. He helped me think it through, but my instinct was that it was going to work. And eventually, after doing all the logical things, we both decided that it could work. When it comes to stockists, I really rely on my instinct as to whether a stockist is going to work out. Sometimes you just know that if you put a lot of effort into this stockist, it's still not going to work. So I prioritize my instinct to know where to put my energy. I think that's the thing that I prioritize.
That's a good one. I really like that. Yeah, and that that's good as well, because not every stockist is going to be a right fit, right? And it's all about finding a stockist tribe.
And it takes energy to get a stockist on board and then keep them on board, and it takes focus and commitment.
Yeah, so trusting your instinct as to whether that's going to be worth the while or not.
Yeah.
Cool. Leanne, same question to you. What do you feel you've had to prioritize in your business?
For me, for this one, I've gone more like just trust your instincts, but also you've got to treat it like a business. When I first was looking into it and first started and everything, you're thinking, oh, I'm going to be fun. I'm going to be in the kitchen. I'm going to be baking. But then if you want to make it successful and you want to make it a good business, you have to treat it like a business. So you have to prioritize your time. You have to set aside allocated times to do your administration work, to order your ingredients, set baking days, and just stick to it. So I found, like, at first I was, if somebody wanted something, I'd go, yeah, I can make that. And it only took me a couple of weeks to say, no, I bake on these days, and, I can deliver to here, or you're going to have to pick it up. So yeah, just really, so I suppose setting it like a business plan and sticking to it and treating it as what it is, as a business.
Perfect. I love that one. And same question to you, Kirsty, please.
Okay. I agree with what both Rosie and Leanne have said. Definitely, they're really important. To me, I felt like I also need to prioritize me time. So, it's easy to start going, okay, well, I need to do all these different things and factor them in, but I also need to put in time there, say, for example, doing yoga or doing some exercise, or just having, that downtime and doing something that you actually makes you relax, and spending time with my husband that's not taken up with the kids or anything else. Like, to me, that was really important to put that into a priority, to make sure that everything's balanced, and therefore I can do a better job at everything else that I do when I've got that balance right.
What a lovely bunch of well-rounded answers that was, wasn't it? It was like from instinct to like day to day to other aspects of your life. So I love that. It's nice and well-rounded. And I know that, I always talk about, if it's not in the schedule, it doesn't happen. And I've got all my stuff in my schedule, from massages to Pilates classes to coffees with my bestie to interview days to non-interview days to working on projects to doing my admin to sorting out my kids' social life. How much time does that involve? My goodness, that seems to be taking up a lot of time at the moment. But that's good, and it is about having that balance and filling your day with high priority activities. Otherwise, you'll just get bogged down in the humdrum. Cool. All right. I had to go and find our email that we sent around yesterday because I was having a bit of a declutter and I ripped the thing. And I was doing all right. And then it got to the bottom and it's just all missing. The question's all missing. So anyway, I've got it on my phone now. Okay, so the next question is, how does the Primalista license make you feel like you are taking action with confidence? So what is it about the license that gives you that confidence in your business? And we'll start with Rosie Mason in Western Australia.
Oh, well, initially it's what I said before about how a lot of the hard work is done for you. But now it's more the fact that Helen is so incredibly good at promoting the brand, networking, getting her face out there, getting the brand out there, all those things that I would be absolutely terrible at. I can just hide behind Helen and she can do all that. So that's amazing for me. Yeah, the networking and the creating connections. Yeah, Australia-wide, worldwide now.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah, I love that. That's like the best fun ever. Especially just at the weekend with that amazing video that Jordan did for us from Real Life with Pie, Geordie Pie. Follow her on Instagram. She's got the best foodie stuff out there. And yeah, she did this amazing video of how to make our pizzas and how much she loves them. And she's a GAPS practitioner and nutritionist. And so we were all excited. It was like Christmas, wasn't it? Oh, Jordan's done a video for us. It was so much fun. And then, yeah, just getting our new granola to people that we just look up to and who've been our teachers, like Pete Evans and Cindy O'Meara, and having them give the thumbs up to the stuff that we're making. Kirsty, you baked for Cindy, didn't you? Did you do the?
I did, yes.
Yes, and Kim Morrison. I was quite delighted to meet Kim Morrison.
Isn't she gorgeous? Yes. We love you, Cindy and Kim. Yay, if you're watching. I know they're very supportive. They love what we're doing. They really, really love what we're doing and the opportunities we're creating and making it easier for people to be healthy. So it's so cool. Yeah, I was just chatting to Changing Habits headquarters this morning. It's just, they were just saying, Cindy loved the granola, and hopefully we're going to do a little bit more work with those guys. So that's going to be really cool. All right, next question. Have we asked everybody that question? No, Leanne. Sorry, I told you I was excited. I told you I was excited, and it's my second day back from school holidays. So like, I'm really excited, but my brain's not working properly. You know, you're like, shiny thing. So I'm a bit like that today. So I'm sorry. All right, we're going to Leanne with the same question. How does the Primalista license make you feel like you're taking action with confidence?
I love that it's a well-known brand, and it's just getting more well-known as time goes on. Like Rosie said, like all the promotions that you do, and it's all over Facebook, it's all over Instagram. You've got people like, you know, Joe Witten and Cindy O'Meara, Kim Morrison, Pete Evans. You know, everybody talks about it. So it's a brand that's already out there. So it's a familiarity for people who see it for the first time. I love to be at the markets. And I like, you know, when people see the brand, they'll come over and they'll go, oh, I've seen this on Instagram. You know, I've always wanted to try it, or I've not been able to find it anywhere. So it's a good conversation starter. But I also love the business model. And like Rosie said, all the really important stuff is done, but it's all the really hard stuff. So like labels, testing, legal stuff. And it's just really good to know that all that stuff's been done in the background. So if somebody does come up and approach me and say, oh, how do you know that this is safe? Like, how can you tell me that this is going to last for whatever? And then I can just pull out, oh, look, it's all been lab tested. We've got the results, you know, like it's all there. Just, you know, you can check it out. There's a website, it tells you all of this. So it just gives it a bit more clout than something that somebody's made in their kitchen themselves and just taken along to their market. So not that there's anything wrong with people who do that, but I just find that having that backup behind you when somebody comes at you with those questions, it just gives it, makes it a lot easier to sort of to give a really well-informed answer, and it gives them satisfaction that they're getting something that is a quality product that has been tested, and it's not just, you know, grandma's recipe thrown together and put in the back of the car and take it to the markets.
Great answer. Love it, Leanne. Perfect. Thank you. Kirsty, same question to you. So how does the Primalista license make you feel like you're taking action with confidence?
Okay, well, one of the most wonderful things about it, apart from all the little bits and pieces, is the actual community with the private Primalista group, the support and being made to feel welcome straight away, even before you get to delve into, you know, recipes and things like that. You're made to feel like you're actually part of a group that cares about you and that have the same sort of passions and interests. So I thought that was pretty special. The packaging and the labels, as well as the recipes, are just amazing. Like, I just think they're so perfect. I love being able to, you know, bake something and then package it up and put the label on it and go, wow, this actually looks really good, and feel really proud about it. So, you know, it doesn't matter how many things I make, I sort of will, after I've done it and packaged it and labeled, look back and go, wow. And I'll be always taking it in to show my husband and go, okay, look at this. And he's like, yeah, that's really good. He'll probably get sick of me doing that, but
Never.
It helps me to feel really passionate about what we're doing. So, yeah.
I love it. I love it. And, you know, I just have to just say that, you know, I gave everybody a heads up on the questions just yesterday, right? But we didn't coordinate answers. But isn't this just like such a great, you know, we couldn't have coordinated it better. And I haven't told you what to say. You know, it's just like I've given you a heads up of the question, but God knows what you're going to say. You might say it's all awful and you're going to run for the hills. But no, this is great and I'm loving it. So thanks everybody so far. All right, final kind of big question, and then there's a couple of quick fire round questions. But the question, and we'll go over to Rosie, is, does self-doubt ever leave? What a great question.
Oh, it doesn't leave, it transforms itself. You might suddenly you might work on something, some area of self-doubt, and feel like you've got it conquered, and then something else happens and you've suddenly lost confidence in yourself again in some other way. So no, it doesn't leave, but you just have to, I mean, I guess with any kind of journey, like owning a business is a journey. So you just have to learn how to deal with it as you go along.
Perfect. Love it. And Leanne, same question for you.
Yes, so same thing. No, it doesn't ever leave. It just, you just find a way to work around it. I mean, sometimes you find that things are going really great and everything works out fine, and then one little thing will happen and you think to yourself, oh, is this really what I want to be doing? Or, why did I think that I could do that? Why did I agree to take this on? And then something good happens and all that doubt goes away again. So it's just a matter of sort of checking in with yourself. And when you do feel that doubt, remind yourself of, this is how far I've come. This is what my plan was. And you've just got to work through it. You get self-doubt with every part of your life at different times. So I think it's just a matter of knowing when to catch yourself and when to remind yourself that, okay, just deal with whatever you think is blocking this path at the time, and then just let's move on with it. And, and then when it happens again, same thing, just go through the process again.
Yeah, perfect. No, I love that. And I think that it's the whole thing, right? It's not just the good stuff and all that, when things go good, and you get rave reviews at markets and you sell out and you've only been there for an hour, and then so-and-so is talking about how great Primal Alternative is on Instagram, and there's, it's all good. And then, something goes moldy, or you screw up a recipe, or, something happens, right? And it's like both sides of it. And I think when things are going really good, there'll be some kind of thing that'll bring you back, like a little inner thermostat. If you're kind of proud and puffing yourself up, the little thermostat comes to kind of bring you back into alignment, into true alignment of who you are. And I think that's good, and I think that's why I always talk about not selling a fantasy, because there's going to be good bits and bad bits, but it's about seeing the whole and thinking, yeah, this is worth it. This is what I want to do. And I think that on those, where there's that fine line between growth, between support and challenge. So it's like, it's good, you're in your comfort zone, and then there's a bit of a challenge. That's where growth happens, right? And that's like the most fun thing ever, and helps not just for your mental and spiritual growth, but also your physical. I think it's all very interlinked. So it's pretty exciting. So yeah, thanks for that answer. That's great, Leanne. And over to Kirsty, same question. Does self-doubt ever leave?
No, yeah, just the same.
Thank God.
I was just thinking about this while Leanne and Rosie were talking, and just thinking, well, I'm in the situation at the moment where I've just had 3 of my stockists have placed orders for the same weekend, and it's like, wow, this is awesome. But then kind of the realization, like the last one was this morning, and I'm just like, wow, this is really huge. And of course you get then that self-doubt, can I do all of this? That overwhelm. And then I have to just reflect back on what I try to do a lot and think of them as ants, automatic negative thinking. And what do you do with ants? And you've got an ant problem? You spray them, you kill them, you get rid of them. So I just got to do that and get on with it.
So automated negative thinking.
Automatic negative thinking.
Automatic negative. I like that. And we do have a negativity bias. It's part of our survival. That's why we're here. That's, if we were just sat around going, everything's great, we would have been eaten by the prey. We would have been the prey. We would have been eaten by the predator. So I love it. Automatic negative thinking. Yeah, squash it. Spray it. Get the guy around with the chemicals. No, don't do that. That's not good. All right. Okay. So we're going now over to a couple of questions that we've had through Instagram, which is exciting. So I'm just trying to find my album. There it is, Primalista panel. I have a separate panel for the questions. All right, so this one from Di Cropper has asked us, and this is the final chance. We're about to wrap up. So Zoom people, if you've got any questions, pop them in the chat. Facebook people, if you've got any questions, put them in the comments. Although I think we have had a very thorough chat today. But the question from Di Cropper is, would your products travel okay in the heat to the Torres Strait? Well, that's a good question. Who wants to answer that one? Nobody.
We do our best.
Go for it, Rosie.
Whichever orders come through, they go to the closest, geographically closest Primalista. And we do our best to package them appropriately with ice and padding, so that they do hopefully get to their destination, intact and still fresh. We also use express post. So it would really depend on what you order. If you have some major worries about what to order, about whether it's going to arrive fresh, then maybe choose packet mixes and cookies and things that aren't going to spoil easily.
Perfect answer. That's exactly what I would have said. And we've been shipping food around the country for years now, and we do get a very small, it's real food. We don't use preservatives, so there is some mold and there is some spoilage, especially if it gets left to the post office. But in general, it's a very small percentage of things that happen like that. Otherwise, we just wouldn't ship it out. But yeah, if you're really concerned, go the packet mixes or go the cookies, because they just seem to last forever, which is really handy.
Or even the granola now.
Granola, yes, of course.
Yeah,
get the granola, definitely. All right, final question from Instagram people. Would it be impossible without a Thermomix? Who wants to answer that?
I'll take this, since I don't have a Thermomix.
Yes, great.
I do not have a Thermomix, and I feel like it's just as good, if not better, to not have a Thermomix.
So what do you use instead of a Thermomix, Rosie?
So I use my just a Kenwood stand mixer. They come with, you can get ones, I don't know what the brand is, that has an even bigger bowl than the one I use now, so you could fit even more in it. But the one I have is just standard size, and it works great. I have a couple of spare bowls. Actually, you can probably see I have a commercial mixer as well, but I actually don't use that often. I do that. I use it once a week or a couple of times a week maybe, for big, huge batches of things. But that's also not necessary.
Cool. Leanne, what do you use?
I've got a Thermomix, but when I do my market baking and my big batches, I just use big 6-litre bowls, put all the dry ingredients in, and I just use the Thermomix to grate the zucchini pretty much. Everything else I do with a hand mixer. I just go along the bowls and add the wet ingredients and mix them all up like a little production line. So you easily just grate the zucchini and you wouldn't need it.
Great answer. What about you, Kirsty?
Yeah, I've got a Thermomix and with 2 bowls, so I use them quite a lot. But it's funny, some of the recipes you end up sort of tweaking, like I'll put them in, transfer stuff into another big bowl, like what Leanne was kind of saying, and mixing them up that way with just a normal bowl and a wooden spoon. Yeah, so you can make whatever you've got work. Yeah,
I always say it's a good excuse. If you want to get a Thermomix, it's a good excuse, but you don't need one. And don't let it be cost prohibitive, like, oh, well, I want to do this. This is what normally people do. I want to do this, but I've got to renovate my kitchen and buy 3 Thermomixes. It's like, no, you don't. You don't. You just need a bowl and a wooden spoon, right? So that's good. All right. So we've got viewers on Facebook, but they're very quiet today. So that's good. So no more questions from there. But what I thought would be really cool to wrap up with, which I'm sorry, I should have asked more in the intro section. But if you want to tell us a little bit about where we can find you on social media, so give us your social media addresses. And also, can you tell us a little bit about your stockists or your markets and how many days a week you're baking? We'll start with you, Rosie.
You can find me on Facebook as Primal Alternative by Rosie, and on Instagram you can either look for Primal Alternative Perth or Primal Alternative by Rosie. I have around 12 stockists, 10 to 12 stockists, I think, and I bake 3.5 days a week.
Perfecto. And Leanne, same question to you.
So you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, or my website, and it's all Primal Alternative by Leanne, so nice and easy. I do weekly markets and in the beautiful Hawkesbury at Richmond every Saturday, and then once a month I go up to the gorgeous Blue Mountains and do the Springwood Growers Markets. I have 2 permanent stockists, and then I have 2 stockists that are coming on board but just trialing at the moment. So my stockists that I do have are both health food stores, and even with my markets, they're nowhere near me. So they're about 25 k's away from where I am. I'm in like literally suburbia. There are no health food stores. There are 4 shopping centres within 10 kilometres from me, and not one of them has a health food store. So all my stockists and all my markets are right out of my area. Yeah. So you don't have to live in the right niche area for this to work. You can make it work. My main stockist is the health food store that I've been going to for years. So that's and then my other stockist is up in the Blue Mountains.
Yeah, nice. Sounds like you get out to some nice places. And I think the first place to look, like you, exactly what you've done, Leanne, is when you're thinking about stockists to approach, it's like, well, we are our ideal customer. So it's like, well, where do I shop? Which shops do I go to? Because you've already got relationships with those people. And then it's like, hey, I've started this business doing this. Do you want to give it a go? It can be quite straightforward. So over to you, Kirsty. I know you're not on Instagram, are you? Because I was looking for you today on Instagram, but you are on Facebook.
I might need to set that up. I'm not sure. I do have a Facebook page, Primal Alternative by Kirsty. I'm on the Sunshine Coast in Queensland. So basically all my labels say made in Caloundra, because that's the official city where I'm producing. I've got 3 stockists at the moment. So Be Fresh Warana, which is basically like a deli and markets, which is quite popular here in Kiwana Waters. Also freshbox.com.au, which is actually an online organic fruit and veggie supplier, which we get our fruit and veggie box from. And then also Grub Organics, which is actually out near the Maroochydore Airport, which is probably the furthest away from me, but still, just a bit of a drive, not that far away. I've got other customers that sometimes will, contact me and just put a little order in, and I try and fit them in when I can. But at the moment, the stockists like to have a bit of a supply there so people can just go and pick out what they want to have. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Yeah, I'm baking about 2 days a week.
Yep. But are you doing it from the commercial kitchen? Because that's an interesting, because the model's designed for domestic, so you can be working from home, but I know that you wanted to do commercial. So can you just give us a bit of an insight as to how that's going?
Okay, well, it's having to be very, very organised. Obviously, the things that I don't have to do in the kitchen, do at home. But yeah, your baking and stuff, with the council regulations, I have to do them in a commercial kitchen. And I'm really lucky to have found a lovely lady, Mel from Chocolate to Chili. She's actually got a wedding cake business, and so when she's not using it, which is usually afternoons and stuff, I can go and actually hire it out and bake there. And she's got a couple of ovens, so got more oven space there than what I would if I was baking at home anyway. Yeah, I would love to eventually be able to bake from home, but the way things are set up, we're living in a rental, so that was another reason why we had to go for commercial. yeah, so one day when we buy our own home, I'm going to set the kitchen
You
out
can
so
transition it there.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think there's some benefits to commercial kitchen. You know, you can get out of your house and leave all the tapioca dust in, you know, tidied up. Everyone's laughing. Oh, your tapioca dust goes everywhere. You can leave all of that in the commercial kitchen, and you can just come home, and it's that sort of, you know, separation of zones, which can be really cool. But we do have a lot of renting Primalistas as well, and a lot of them do bake from the domestic kitchen as well. So it just depends on certain circumstances. And in the interview, we'll go through all of that and make sure you've asked all the right questions before you get started. So that's good. All right, final question, Rosie. What's the last Primal Alternative product that you ate?
I honestly, I haven't been able to eat any Primal Alternative products for the last 2.5 months because I'm on autoimmune protocol elimination phase. So it was probably a cookie. It was probably a keto cookie. But yeah, it's been a while. Cool. I will be reintroducing soon, but yeah, no nuts and seeds for me or eggs at all.
Which is everything in our range, unfortunately.
Everything.
I know. Yeah. Leanne, how about you? What was the last Primal Alternative product you ate?
I had the fat and seedy granola for breakfast this morning. It's delicious. I love it. It's so my new favourite. It's just so good.
Super yummy. What about you, Kirsty?
Well, it's funny Leanne said that because the fat and seedy is my favourite, but I've run out of that for me. So I actually had the no nut hemp granola with blueberries and vanilla koyo yogurt for breakfast.
Oh, that's exactly how I take mine, with the koyo. I love that vanilla koyo. It's so good. Well, my last thing that I had was oh, that's how I do it. Hang on, I'm trying to remove the spotlight. There we go. The last thing I had was the hang on, I'm trying to click. Oh, there we go. The last thing I had was pancakes. So I made some pancakes. We always been making waffles, but Millie asked for pancakes, and I was like, oh, pancakes, takes ages. But I've never cooked it in ghee before. I've always used coconut oil, but I've moved to ghee for gut healing. We're all on protocols always. And yeah, wow, cooked in the ghee, it goes really crispy on the edges, and it was just amazing. And so we had that on Sunday, and we had half the mix left over, and I said, come on, let's have it again. And Mike was like, pancakes on a Tuesday? And I was like, is that wise? And I was like, yeah, let's have pancakes on a Tuesday. We're still, the holidays drifting over into real life, you know, so kids were stoked, and it was delicious. And I had one with peanut butter and maple syrup, and the other one with mangoes, strawberries and blueberries and maple syrup. And it was yummy. And I'm still full. Oh, it's only 10 o'clock though.
I did feed my son this morning. Zucchini bread with mashed avocado on top, and he wolfed it down. So the Primal Alternative products are still going strong in our house. I just don't get to eat them right now.
Yeah, that's a shame. That's a shame. Is there? But you'll be back. And it'll be good for your health. Is there anything else that anybody would like to say, or any parting words before we finish this fabulous Primalista panel?
No. Just thank you, Helen, for all your support and all your just inspiration. It's so awesome. I'm always like, it blows me away that, like I was saying about the community, and to have you leading us and having set this up is just amazing for the whole Primal Alternative thing. It's brilliant. You should be proud of yourself.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's so nice. That's so nice. You know, when I had this vision of what I wanted to do, I was like, I want to create this community, this really collaborative community. And yeah, the all of you who've come into it are just far exceeded my expectations of what we could do. And it's what we've done together. You know, it's like what Leanne was saying before, you know, that all of us promoting and all these people talking about it, like every time somebody puts anything on social media, it benefits everybody's business. Every single time a new person comes on board and they start talking about it in their area, it increases the you know, the brand awareness and people liking the brand and people trusting the brand. And yeah, so I think it's super cool what we're doing, and we're doing it all together. So it's not just down to me. It was just a little idea, but you guys made it happen. So that's so cool. So thank you. Oh, well, that was a nice note to end on. Thank you so much for your time this morning, Primalista sisters. And I will let you get back to your day. And thanks for being here.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Helen.
Bye, Rosie. Bye, Leanne.
Bye. Bye, Kirsty. Bye, Leanne.